Next up, we have Petr. And Petr is telling us about a different kind of tool set. So this time about how to work with certificates more easily. Please.
And not only that, I also stick with the title done, created for me. And it states breaking the Estonian ID card. So I will talk about what it took in 2017 to do it and what would take it today, and if we are better off with respect to tooling we have in hand. So we are a small lab in Czech Republic, in Brno, quite far away. So how we learned about Estonia? At least for me, it was I knew just one Estonian before from the open source community. That was Martin Paljak there. So how we get to learn all the people here in the room. So roughly around 2014, we already had a bunch of smart cards in hand, and we wanted to know how they are implementing RSA. And that's a tough job because the vendors are not telling you how this is done. So we had the idea, let's take all the cards we have, run some tests on them that are somehow probing the implementation, and then take also a lot of open source libraries, run the same tests, and maybe we can spot some similarities. And based on that, we can reason if this card behaves very similarly to OpenSSL, maybe they are implementing the same way implementation, and maybe we can find some bug there. So for that, we started to generate over the several weeks RSA keys directly on cards. So we end up with like 60+ million keys. But we were not really finding vulnerabilities, unfortunately. We got a lot of interesting pictures that were visualizing the way how we were looking at the properties of the unknown implementation on the card. But no bugs. But what we found was these pictures are not the same. Despite the fact that like RSA is reasonably simple, we were not seeing the same pictures. And we were wondering why. And then we realized, okay, it's because, also based on the open source libraries, they are using the different way how to generate primes. And because they are ending with slightly different structure of the primes, we can observe that even in the public keys. So actually the result we got out of that was we will take a public key, we will look at specific bits, and we can say which library or which card generated these bits. This particular key, sorry. And based on that, so it's basically attribution. You will look at the key and you know it's from OpenSSL. You will look at the key, it's from Infineon, okay? Not really bug, it's like maybe information leakage. But there was one source that was more different than others. We were even like joking that like these strange keys. And we kept making new pictures. And at some point we came with another picture where it was like really strange. And all the previous pictures were like, okay, they are just doing it differently. But this picture, I will not get much into details why it's that, but it was saying, okay, the primes from Infineon are having very specific algebraic structure. And just by observing that structure, we were able to get exactly the format of the structure. So what do you expect in ordinary implementation? Primes are random. What do we got for Infineon? This formula. So they were generating it this way. So that itself is still just information leakage, but it turns out that it's vulnerable. And while, say, random 2K bit keys shall take these huge amount of years to factorize, it turns out that Infineon was way easier to factorize, 140 CPU years. And that's still a lot of years, right? Like so is this a practical attack? And the problem is that the factorization, the attack is perfectly parallelizable. So if you have 1,000 cores, you are doing it 1,000 faster. So then it burns down to who is using the chip and how much you are paying for the energy, right? And it turns out that, unfortunately, Estonia was using the chip. So that was in 2017. we notify Infineon, then we also notify Estonia. And over the years, the expected price for factorization is below $1,000. So I would say that's practical. So that was in 2017, and that got us here. But the question is why we, at the end, got to the situation that we were not knowing the fact. I will try to use the pointer. Oh, doesn't work. That such formula is inside the card. And the problem is, of course, that everything was closed. But if you will go back to 1997, there was a nice, shiny platform that was called Java Card. It was by Sun. It was open. I see Eric smiling. And this is, I think, the first prototype. So by open, it's important to say what it means, because Java Card API was open. So you know the implementation, you know the methods, but you don't know the implementation. So how it's done, that's not open. And such card is, such implementation is inside the card with some nice picture. On top of that, the chip itself is actually just 3 to 3 millimeters below these contacts. And inside that, you have a rough understanding what's inside. There is some CPU, some random number generation, some memories. There are also some cryptographic accelerator circuits, some implementation of libraries, but much is unknown. Like details, exact details, how it's done, that's unknown. And the reason why is that there are multiple of them. IP protection for vendors, like hardware, making hardware is expensive. Also, certification requirements. They are saying, okay, if you like to certify, you need to reach some security level. And for that, you need to show that it's very hard for an attacker to break the card. And if you will not give any free samples to academic researchers or the world, it's harder to break it. And therefore, people are motivated not to give samples for, say, independent analysis. So we don't know many things, like design, layouts, packages, implementation, and so on. There's also vendor API. Some part is public, some part is not. So then the question is, who is analyzing the security of these parts? So we have this chip, who is looking for the bugs inside? And there are certainly people that are looking. But these are not end users, these second parties, right? Because the typical end user holding the card, they lack the skills, they don't even know what was tested, so they basically outsource the work for certification schemes, laboratories, vendors, okay? So vendors, they have great understanding of the implementation. They did it, right? They have also frequently advanced methods, hardware. They might have some limited knowledge in security testing, but still they have like great knowledge, but they have a conflict, like the time to market versus let's say analyzing it a bit more to be a bit more secure. Schemes are typically mandating like common criteria to use some independent evaluation laboratories. They have a great knowledge. They commercialize the process of testing, so they know how to do it reasonably fast and on time, and also on budget. They might have a conflict between the tough analysis and keeping vendor as a customer. Because if you are too harsh and you are spotting too many problems, the vendor might go for some other evaluation laboratory which is less, let's say, sharp on this. Also, if the evaluation laboratory will find some problem, the vendor can either fix it or just put it out of scope. And that we saw that several times as well. So then we have the scheme like BSI, ANSI, NIAP in US. They do have some experts. They are typically not involved directly in testing. They shall be impartial. They tend to have stronger ties to bigger players. But okay, so these are four parties that are typically involved. What would be the ideal setup for finding bugs? First, perfect knowledge of design, implementation. So basically white box testing. So that's great. Also, you need to have competent people, equipment, all these things, knowledge in testing. And you need to have a lot of time for that. Okay, so where academia, let's say independent researchers fits into this part. We are definitely not perfect case for this because we have small understanding. We typically work in a black box model. We don't know how it's implemented, design decisions, nothing like that. We may have some great knowledge in some advanced attacks, and we may have some equipment, but not like covering everything. Evaluation laboratory knows, okay, these are the steps, we need to have expertise and hardware for everything. At university, we'll have just some subparts, maybe deep, but some subparts only. We do have a lot of time, that's good. But we have also bias. We tend to look at the more complex results because at the end we need to publish. So just buffer overflow will not do it. So we tend to go for like fancier attacks. Another thing is evaluation laboratory is contracted to do analysis of one specific chip, whereas we don't care that much about that part. It's actually harmful for our method to do so. We are more focused on wide-scale testing, like take a lot of cards. So how difficulty of analysis of these cryptographic devices evolved over the time. In the 90s, we got these fresh and very powerful attacks based on side channels, this simple power analysis, differential power analysis, and so on. Like really, really powerful attacks. They were coming mostly for academia, quickly turning into some companies and some protections being patented. At that point, it was very difficult for us to get any card. So basically impossible. So the industry making cards, they were heavily relying on black box and also not giving free samples. Common cryptography certification was already there. It was providing some level of information what was tested, but it's best what you can get still nowadays, but not deep enough. You will just have the mention, this chip is tested against the differential power analysis, but you will not know how exactly, with what results, how many traces, nothing like that. Everything is kept out of the public visibility. And at that point, definitely, we had no open source tooling, nothing, no like major open ones people can widely use. Okay, so there's a picture with respect to extraction. So you can get the card. If you can get the sample, you will measure some side channel, maybe power side channel, maybe just timing side channel. And if you're lucky, you will get the key out. So let's say roughly 10 years after, the situation changed. Already at that point, the vendors and laboratories, the evaluation laboratories had advanced setups. That was great. And even us, we were able to get some samples of cards. Typically, just like second-hand cards, usually going from China, we were hoping that they are matching what is real in a real world for the electronic IDs, for example. But at least we were able to get something. There were practical applications of more advanced attacks, so say lattice-based attacks on ACDS, ACC nonces, and so on. And there is a growing open source community. So things like Chip Whisperer, like people that were making the hardware plus software around that allows you to plug the chip in and do some analysis. So that was definitely growing. Okay, since then, what changed? Deep learning made, let's say, big attack of the domain because it turns out that you don't need to really understand how exactly the traces are constructed. You can just train a neural network and it will extract the interesting part for you. So that's good. Improved lattice-based attacks. Academic researchers were looking into all of this for a long time. But typically, they were working with white box targets. Because if you are in academia, you like to publish. So you like to design and show, I have this algorithm, let's say AS. This is the vulnerability if it's not protected. I'm suggesting this protection. I'm implementing this protection. I'm measuring it again. I'm showing that you need to have 100 times more traces. So it's way more difficult to attack. So you want to have a controlled way, right? So you are working with maybe FPGA where you will implement everything, but basically that's a white box target. Not that many people were working on the black box ones for the real smart cards. And we are still stuck with having cards that are 2 generations back from the state-of-the-art ones. So our way in our laboratory, how we are studying these devices, we basically figure out that, okay, what works for us is the following. We work with the black box targets. We will first design a technique how to probe that target. It can be looking at the particular part of RSA key or looking at the particular part of nonce in CDSA signature. We will implement the open source tool, and then we will run it. And we will run it against as many targets as we can get. We are not just picking one Estonian card and trying to do it there. We are trying to run on everything. Libraries, hardware, everything. And if we will start to see something off, we are starting to reason why it's there. Sometimes we will get the knowledge about the internal implementation, and then sometimes we will get the publishable method and maybe vulnerability. So the ideal outcome for us as academic researchers is we can have the method published, so we have some reasonably complex and interesting method. We can get it published. We can demonstrate real-world impact. And we can also, because we are working in a black box analysis paradigm, and we have open source tools, and we are not tied with non-disclosure agreements, we can just publish these tools, and other people can use it as well. So typically, the steps 1 to 3 are reverse engineering, and only then in step 4, it's the attacking part. Also, the step 3 is important, because that's a step that is increasing our chances to spot something interesting. Because if we are just analyzing one card, chances are very low. It's not that the card is without bugs, but we will likely miss it. But because we are doing 30 targets, likely we will hit something. So it works for us. And it worked with ROCA and with other subsegment vulnerabilities as well. So this is a table, don't try to really read it. I try to compile to the table of attacks that actually attack the real smart card or real trusted platform module. So not just like very nice theoretical attack, but something that works with the practical hardware. What is important here is this goes from 1996 to this year. And if I will, okay, I lost colors. Okay, you can see it. I can't see it here. So if you will see who did it, basically who was responsible for finding that, you can see that initially it was mostly academia. Then the orange, so blue academia. The orange one are, say, independent evaluation laboratories. By independent, I mean they are not signing NDA with the vendor, and then because then they can't publish. So external laboratories, and then the green one are the vendors itself. Yeah, so it seems that there is some trend towards external laboratories and vendors publishing the vulnerabilities, but still academia is responsible for a large part. And you can see clearly the bias here, right? Like we are working in a black box model, which is supposed to be the hardest one because we don't know the design, we don't know the implementation. Yet the academia is responsible for most of the bugs found, at least publicly, right? So there is clear bias. So how is that? And my theory is that basically the public information that there is a bug is basically a side effect of academics wanting to publish and external commercial laboratories wanting to advertise themselves. Because then they can show, okay, we are really good, we found this problem, hire us for subsequent work. Rarely it's vendor itself, and actually out of these 3 or 4 green parts, Yubico was responsible for most of the reporting for the bugs they found, and then they reported and filled the CV for that. So vendors don't really like to do that. It was mostly Yubico. Then the question is, how likely is it that with a black box analysis, we are finding almost all the bugs that are there? And of course, I think it's very unlikely that we are finding all the bugs. So likely we missed a lot of problems, or we neglected them because maybe we were on the right track. But because there were 2 layers of defense, and we just managed to go over the one, but we were not aware that we went over the first layer of defense because there was another one and that stopped us. We just said, okay, it seems good, but actually there was a problem and 1 layer was breached. Also, I believe a lot of problems are simply undisclosed, right? They are found by vendors, they are found by laboratories before the product is released. And that's perfectly understandable, right? Like we are testing something, we are trying to make sure there are as little bugs as possible. So I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with the second part where it's already deployed, people are using the device, and then someone will find the bug, will not publish it, and then the vendor will decide, will I fix it or not, or will I silently go over, right? There are also publicly reported vulnerabilities, but with a low visibility, which means yes, they were reported, but the typically vendor decided, okay, we will not file CVE, we will not make a public security bulletin. One example might be the bug we found in Intel firmware TPM. It was enough to just gather 9 signatures, and then you can get the private key out. And you don't need to even actively observe the creation of the signatures. Just later on, you will get the signatures. Like, pretty bad. But Intel said, OK, it's outdated product. We will not do anything about that. So now I'm getting to the part. If we would go to break Estonian ID today, what we can do, whether we are better off. So first of all, we are no like special announcement here. Like so that's one thing. Second thing, as I described, we would not do it because it's the likelihood of failure would be too high for us, right? Because it's very unlikely that for one target we will find the problem. We will miss a lot of problems that are there, but unlikely that we will hit something. So we would like to, as academic researchers, would like to go some wide range testing. But anyway, I will try. So first, you need to know what the Estonian is using. You will use Google. RIA is doing a good job like documenting what they are using. So you can find it. ID Cosmo. So you have the at least identification of the chip. That itself might be just expected for you as Estonians. It's not really true for Czech Republic, right? Like finding what we are using is not that easy. So then, because you know the platform, you can open the Common Criteria certificate. You will just clean your French language skills, and you can start reading. Okay. So that's you will get a lot of information out of it. You will still miss crucial ones. So you will then want to like dig deeper. The tool Waszek was mentioning, SecCerts, we built this tool for ourselves. We wanted to have something where we can search certified cryptographic devices. So we basically took all the PDFs from Common Criteria and FIPS. We extracted the mentions about certified devices there, specifically their identification, like for BSI, it's starting with BSI minus, for ANSI, it's starting with ANSI, and so on. So you can make regular expressions, and then you can start to search for the certificate for Estonian ID. You will find it, and it's there. Because we use the regular expressions, in contrast to, say, ChatGPT or AI, we know pretty well that the likelihood of false positives is low. Right? So we know what this is doing. This is like a simple method. So that's good. You will get at the end something like this. So the graph is too small for you to read, but basically the Estonian ID runs on the platform that is referencing certificates issued for the hardware platform below it. And these are these 2 ones at the top, these outgoing. And then you have a lot of incoming, which are the certificates that are referencing Estonian platform. On top of that, you can see that there is a lot of yellow, and yellow is not where you like to be, because this means these certificates are already archived. So they are out of their typically 3 to 5 years period. Estonian certificate, let's say for the Cosmo platform, it's still green. It was extended, but hardware below is already archived. A lot of things that were certified later on is also archived. Doesn't mean that it's a vulnerability, but it means maybe people are not paying any longer attention to analyzing these platforms below that much. Okay, so that's one thing. Second thing is, this is not what the kids nowadays would do. They will just ask ChatGPT, right? So I asked, and it works pretty well. ChatGPT can tell us it's a Cosmo platform. It will tell you like it's 8.x because they will also tell you the whole history of the Estonian platform was built on different chips. And so that's great. But you may wonder, like, is this hallucination, right? Fortunately, you have resources, so you can check. So I checked, for example, here for the Rocca one. There is a resource and reference to Arnis Parshov's paper on Usenix. And I believe this is why the ChatGPT is giving you like really good results, because Arnis like summarized everything very nicely. So this is easy to get. Within 1 minute, you are getting nice setup. So that's one thing. Second thing is there was vulnerability, and we can start to check about that vulnerability because coincidentally we were the ones who found the Rocca vulnerability. So we can just now compare, right? On the right, you can see the reasoning mode. It's like searching the internet and thinking, okay, I found Rocca, I found UC leak. I also found some other attack. Does not seem related. So it's really interesting. At the end, it says, for Estonian, I have these two, for the Estonian ID, based on Infineon platform, which is not the most recent one, I have two relevant attacks, and we can start to now verify what's there. So Rocca and UC leak. This is like the summary, what the ChatGPT will do. So let's go it bullet point by bullet point. So root cause, it got it right. Like the problem is it's generating RSA based on the prime templates that are not correct. Then we have one fail here, because it says it affects only keys generated by the chip before November 2017. And that's maybe not completely fail, but it's very misleading because it does not really tie to a time. It ties to the version of the library that runs on your card. I can still take a card and generate vulnerable keys nowadays. Although the second part is correct, if you import it from outside, as you learned as well in Estonia, that you can import into your Estonian ID cards from outside the chip, then it's safe. Then it's also like not really nuanced with respect to mitigation and so on. It suggests some mitigations. So audit, that's good, that's correct. We have some hallucination here because it's saying force 3000-bit ECC. Okay, so that's a bit too much for current standards, but I think basically it almost got it right. It likely thought 3000 RSA or ECC. But okay, so this is something where it can get wrong, but all other things are correct, and especially the last one, that you shall be prepared for the bugs like that. Okay, I'm going to the last part, which is saying, okay, we have some custom-built expert tools. That's good. We have ChatGPT, and people will just go for it simply because it's easier. And we are building the expert tool for 5 years, and we are still struggling with the user interface. Like ChatGPT got it right. So the problem is here, of course, false positives, false negatives, and nuances that are getting here. And this is problem not just for end users, but also for vendors, because then the summary of is out of their control. They don't know how exactly this is expressed. Also, initial information needs to be there at the first place. That's also important. So I will skip this slide. The crux of this is if I would like to nowadays do analysis of Estonian ID, I can't, simply because I can't get the samples of this card. I can get them if I will sign NDA, but then I can't publish results. Okay, so it's a bit problematic. So how to improve the trustworthiness? Eric was mentioning that during the talk we have a bunch of options. Authority was tested, and vendors and schemes were doing a good job to increase the basic baseline. I would like to see more end-user verifiability, where end users can actually verify for themselves. And I like to use the wisdom of crowd. Okay, but this can be messy. I will very quickly show how this can be done. On one side, on the left side, we have certified products. On the right side, we have people doing various analysis, ending up with metadata about the keys, but also description of the truly random number generator and so on. So what we can do is Infineon can say, okay, I have this chip. Okay, this is a small package. I have this chip, and I will sign that JSON blob. Then some random guy will come and collect the keys and sign metadata with these keys. Then our library, our lab will tie these together. So they will say, okay, this metadata ties to this particular product. Everything is signed. We can do more. Then maybe Maitre, as responsible for CVs, will come with another blob, also tied together, because at some point there was a ROCA. Maybe RIA at some point run ChatGPT, analyze the summary and say, okay, this is pretty accurate. We'll share the summary of that thing. And because Infineon is happy with that summary, they will create the binding and sign it as well. Okay, so that's the basic idea. And then you can go and, as an end user, you can filter. And the problem is who will build the system, right? Fortunately, we don't need to build it. It's already there. It's called Noster. And you can filter based on the key. So you'll just say, I trust Infineon, I trust Maitre, everything else, I don't care. And then you will work on that. And I will stop here. Thank you.
Yes. So let's thank the speaker. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.